Tamara Caulder Richardson, and welcome to the Seeking Heaven Show.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tamara, and hope you're having a great day, and welcome to the Seeking Heaven channel. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and like, and make sure you make comments. I try to answer everybody back. Check out the galacticorigins.cruise.com. If you use my name, you will get a 30-minute free session with me. So make sure you check out that, and also my Academy of Divine Wisdom. Sign up for my newsletter, and you will get, I don't really send out a lot of emails. So, maybe once a month, whenever I have events or whatever going on. I also have some free classes and a free meditation that should relax you, that you can even, once you learn it, can use it in the car. So let me go ahead and bring on our guest. And we have here today Richard Willett. Now he's going to tell us about his background, so I'm not going to repeat it. I'm going to let him do it. But he is a UK filmmaker and an investigative reporter, and he has his own show, an iconic called Classified. So let me bring him on. Hello, Richard. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Not too bad. Thank you for having me on.
I'm delighted, and make sure everybody check out me. I was on his channel. I was on actually July 10th. But that was unclassified, so it's already out there, and you can get a monthly or an annual membership. I actually got an annual membership because they have really good content, and you do a lot of work for us as far as the investigative information. And you really, I noticed you try to stay on the pulse, and this is a unique gift that you have to be able to expose these things that are being done against humanity. And so I appreciate that, because that's not everybody's calling. I wanted to ask you about this ISIS thing. I see a lot of, it's really weird. You go on the, the social media, the one that starts with an F, and you go in there and you look, everybody's into this ISIS thing and this priestess thing. And
Right.
To me, is that a modern day witch thing? I mean, what is that about? It's like a growing thing. Some people may be ignorant to it, but to me, it seems, when I recall like Atlantis being there, the priestess of the oracle was basically a female minister, but now but this is not what this means. This is something else. This is like ritualistic. What is this ISIS ritualistic thing that's going on?
Well, from a mythological point of view, ISIS is another name for Semiramis, which is another name for Diana. Black Diana is another name for Ninkasag, which is the Virgin Mother, apparently the Virgin Mother of the Anunnaki. Again, even if you don't believe these things exist, it's the same character. But Isis and Semiramis are the same character, depending on Babylon and Egypt, depending where you were living. But it's the same Virgin Mother character that gave birth to Horus or Tammuz, I think, in Babylon. So it's the same Trinity. It's the Trance. So it's the Holy Mother, and she was the one really that with the womb. If you go into a church, I think it was the Vesica Pisces, I think, or something like that. When you go into the church, you're actually walking into the womb of Isis, into the womb of the Virgin Mother. That's the whole scenario, and that's why you have the black and white flooring, because that represents going into a different reality of the Matrix. It's all symbolic there. So they probably don't understand any of that. But Isis is another version of Semiramis. So when you look at the Statue of Liberty, that's Isis, Semiramis, Diana, the same goddess, mother goddess. And remember, they invert everything. So it doesn't mean that the original intention of the being was awful. It just means that what they are probably doing and worshipping is the inversion of anything that's supposed to be good. They invert it. So again, if you look at Cabal or Judaism, originally it doesn't mean that they came from a bad place. It means that it's been inverted and subverted by this satanic cult. So think of the satanic cult like the Sabbateans, sabotage, like a virus. They go in and they take over and they turn everything that was good into bad. They flip it. Like you'd see with the pentagram, flip it upside down, it becomes the goat of Mendes. It becomes the inverted pentagram, which, by the way, Elon Musk is putting all over.
Upside down cross or whatever.
Upside down cross. Again, Elon Musk is wearing that, and people still think he's not a Satanist. He's wearing that, whilst embedded in the forehead of the goat of Mendes, which is the inverted pentagram. And then he put an inverted pentagram out with his Tesla logo in it, by the way. So, but people won't want to see it. Oh yeah, absolutely. A few weeks later, he put a picture of a sheriff's shield And what they'd done is put the Tesla logo in it for him, probably very well intentioned, and he turned it upside down, took the photo that he posted on his Instagram, or sorry, his X, as it inverted on purpose. He posted that on purpose because he's a Satanist. He's an absolutely Satanist. And even his first wife was a Satanist openly. And it's
okay.
So they don't know probably that they're actually worshipping this satanic version of ISIS. And when you look at that thing, yeah, ISIS, Islamic State, and that was obviously an inversion of like a what they call them, I can't remember what the word is now. They were supposed to be a military kind of arm, but they were. Why would you name it ISIS? Why would you name it ISIS? Because so they invoke these things. They invoke these names. It's a cult. Remember, they do things in the name of. That's how they praise them. They do all this murder in your name, ISIS. I'll do all these bad things in your name.
Oh my gosh! Because I cannot believe I didn't put that together. It's right there. It's a
sacrificial ritual. So ISIS will go around and terrorize. That's the word I'm looking for. Being terrorists, but they're doing in the name of this goddess. This goddess is Semiramis. The goddess is Diana. The goddess is that's why they called Lady Diana. She was brought up being called Diana. That's why called Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth is a lizard birth. It comes from the same thing. So, if they use these symbols, and there's so many different variants on it, it's the intention to it.
An invocation.
Invocation. It's a witchcraft.
It's witchcraft. Yeah, it's absolutely. And the other thing is the Book of Enoch, which is I've read it twice. It's very hard to get through.
I've got it here, and I've read about 3/4, and I find it hard to get through.
It's
but yeah,
tough. It's like, but I will say that that these fallen angels are real. That they're trying to possess people. Jesus told me, what do you call Yeshua or whoever? We know who he is. He told me, he's always told me stuff ahead of time. But he told me, you can say that's my higher self. Doesn't really matter. It comes in a loving way and it's very helpful. But he comes through and says, he told me about the Luciferian. He told me 4 years ago, I think I told you, wrote 14 pages of this. It's like, oh my gosh, well, this is crazy about the reptiles, and they like the underground, and they like keeping their women underground, and they try to have children with them. And if it doesn't turn out the way they want, I don't know what that would be, but if they're inferior in some way, they eat them and like eating babies. And
which
they
is
like
Kronos, by the way. That's what Kronos did, which is Saturn, which is old father time. He ate his children. The whole point.
Oh my gosh!
The whole story was he didn't want his children to grow up and take over for him, so he used to eat his children. And then the mother, and I forgot her name, of the children, who was also his sister, because they always tend to be their brother and sister. Loads of incest going on there. She hid Zeus, I believe, and then she put a rock in there. So he thought he swallowed Zeus, but he didn't. He swallowed a rock, and then Zeus came back decades later and avenged his father, which is bloody Star Wars. He's Star Wars, and they don't write anything new. These guys, they don't. They just rewrite old mythologies. So yeah, he come back and avenged his father. Then you've got and that goes back to Horus Rising and the killing of Set. It's the same thing, which was his uncle in that way, but also there was a incest thing going on there as well. So it's the same stories over and over again. Sorry, but yeah, exactly. They're repeating it. So killing, they do eat their children. That's part of the sacrificial thing. It's the firstborn in Egypt.
Yes. Yeah. So, okay. So this stuff that's ancient is still going on more than ever. And so he did mention all of this, and I found out, oh my gosh, this is so true. But they said that the unholy trinity was possession. You can even see stars where people take it and they turn and they're different. So you've got the actual reptilians and the grays that I understand that has a lot of control or kept it as a slave planet. And I want to ask you more about that. Do you feel like that they are still in control, the reptilian and grays, over us, or do you think that that's the whole point? We're coming out of this and waking up to this whole holographic universe, this whole matrix that we're in?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we're waking up to it. I think people are becoming to the point. You even got like Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson, and again, Tucker is a Kabbalist, so I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him. They're talking about this stuff as if it's something new. People like David have been talking about this for decades, and they're going like as if it's some revelation, because what they'll do is they'll take their audience and push them over to that side, which won't really reveal the actual truth. But they're talking about demons and taking over, but they're wrapping it up in an end times scenario where we all need to piss off to Mars, excuse my language, with Elon Musk. They're wrapping it up the same scenario because this information is unstoppable. It's coming out, but they're reframing it in a way that suits their agenda. And I do believe you can't tell me, and as much as I think Alex Jones has done some great work through the years, and he absolutely has, something happened along the line, and now he's fully on the Trump train. And we know that the Rothschilds bailed out Trump decades ago. He's been well owned for a long time. Long time. There is no doubt about that. Look at what he's done to help flourish Israel and this whole Solomon's Temple, putting the US embassy in Jerusalem. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah,
he knows what he's doing. He's a Chabad and Lubavitch. Jared Kushner is part of Chabad Lubavitch, and they're a messianic cult. Which, by the way, follow the Kabbalah. So they all do. So this information is coming out. What they're trying to do is go, okay, yeah, that's true, but we're going to push it over this side. So really, there's very few people that are really looking at this straight down the line that don't take a religious view on it, don't take a political view on it, and you can see them all slipping off. And it's really sad because I've been doing this for about 15 years now, and I see these people that I've known for a long time go, oh, suddenly I'm religious. Suddenly, I'm not talking about faith. I'm talking about actual religions. Suddenly I'm political, and I believe Trump nearly got shot the other day. Maybe he did. We don't know the ins and outs of that, but that was allowed to happen. But what the ins and outs are, it doesn't mean that he didn't get bailed out the Rothschilds. It doesn't mean he didn't push Operation Warp Speed. It doesn't mean he didn't fund Bill Gates' Gavi and take the money from the WHO and just give it straight back to him for Gavi. It doesn't mean that he isn't a Kabbalist. It doesn't mean that he isn't in there with Chabad Lubavitch, with this messianic cult, and supports Israel in everything they do. And when I talk about Israel, not the people of Israel, and not even the government of Israel, you're talking about Sabbatean Frankists, which is a satanic cult, which met up in the late 1700s, which Sabbatai Zevi met up. Sorry, Jacob Frank, who took over from Sabbatai Zevi 100 years later, met up with Mayor Amschel Rothschild and Adam Weishaupt, who was the front man for the Bavarian Illuminati. And they started this whole next stage of the cult. You're talking about the same people that bailed Trump out. So you cannot tell that this whole thing is speeding up, but they know that they've been collared, but by a very small faction of people who will say it down the line. And that's where our saving grace is, to go, I don't need any of you guys to save me. I don't need any of you guys to tell me what is right and wrong. I don't believe a word you're saying, because you would never be in the position you are. There is no one coming to save us in these guys. These guys are in a system that is a satanic system. That's how they got to be where they are.
All of them. People in
all
power.
Of them. And they will know about if this reptilian thing is true. But what you said about the demons and stuff, Alex Jones and the likes of Tucker Carlson are now starting to talk about this stuff because they have no choice, because the information is a juggernaut and it's unstoppable. It's just they're going to try and push it over that side.
So from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, okay? So the reptilians, which are physical things, but they can also project, because they have certain technologies, which, by the way, we had shape-shifting abilities in Atlantis, and we could increase our vibration to a level that would distort it with people. So I don't know how they're doing it, but the point is, anyhow, they're doing it, and I know they're physical, but to me, I understand demonic or archons, and I have seen two people. I know when you say it's awful, possessed, because people's eyes don't go black, and if you're a female, turn into a male voice. I mean, with a different deep, it doesn't happen. It's rare, but I've seen that too. Demons are different. Now that's more in a spirit form, but to me, the agenda is similar. It's still a dark agenda, right? And it's still Luciferian. Do you see them as two separate things? Do you think the archons to me are demonic, where the reptiles are reptiles that have a demonic agenda? But and the grays, the way I understand it, are more of a hive. They operate more of a hive mentality, but would you consider it evil? I mean, we might as humans. Yeah. I mean, the DNA manipulation and all that, but they're just looking as an agenda. How do you see all the different facets? Because they are trying to narrow people into a narrative and this big crescendo of this apocalypse that they're trying to move forward. Even in TV, there you can see they're trying to move this agenda forward, especially Netflix. If you want to know what the next game plan is, just watch Netflix.
Well, Netflix, by the way, I'll just add to that, Mark Randolph, who one of the co-founders of Netflix, his uncles were Sigmund Freud and the guy that came up with the concept of propaganda. I forgot his name off the top of my head now. So they were his uncles. So that is a revelation of the methods machine. That absolutely is. That's just to soften people up, to make sure people kind of go, oh, I saw this in the films and I'm all right with this, or they might not be all right with that, but they go, oh, it's just a film. They kind of like accept it. It's a very, very weird blip in the human consciousness. But yeah, Mark Randolph, who created co-founded Netflix, his uncle was Sigmund Freud, and Edward Bernays was the other guy. But yeah, so the way we describe it, and we just shot a film, like myself and David Icke, and it's coming out soon. It's called The Ritual, the Rituals of the Elite, and it goes right into the whole satanic stuff, and it's very dark.
That should be good.
Yeah, it's really a disturbing film, but it has to be made, and no one else is going to make this film because it won't get anywhere other than on Iconic. And this starts off with these Archon type entities and how it comes through the satanic rituals for the satanic bloodlines into child abduction, into paedophilia, into trafficking rings, into the police, into the parliaments, into politics, and into your everyday Freemasonic societies and secret societies, and how they use this information that perhaps came from the likes of Atlantis, and they've inverted it and subverted it and used it as for black magic instead of. So you've got the right hand path, left hand path. And left-hand path is supposed to be evil, and right-hand path is a better way of using the same information. It's just information. But we go right through it. So I don't believe it's a separate... No, absolutely not. I believe that is coming from a different reality. And this agenda here, David would say that this is, just saying, the trap. He would say that this place is a trap for what did you say? It's not harvesting, but I suppose that might be the word. I suppose harvesting loosh, which is the energy of fear, which you see in the Monsters Inc. films, is how they keep their world going. That's what he sees this place as a loosh machine, basically. I see it slightly different. I don't know if I don't see the system like this place. I don't see as maybe different, but what I see is that our purpose for being here is different in terms of we are infiltrating their system. I see that maybe that's just a coping mechanism, but I feel like I've come here, or all of us have come here to infiltrate their system, like the way that Bill Gates does and the Satanists do for the good work. So I think we've reversed it. I think we come here, we've seen a crappy system, and we're going to go in there and change it from within. And the task is to wake up whilst you're here and then spread this information whilst we're in here. So we wake people up from within the system. Like people will say, well, why would you go on Twitter if you hate it and you hate Musk? Well, if the water's poisoned, you go to the well to tell them. You don't shout from the hills. So if the water is poisoned and you know that they're drinking poisoned water, you need to go there to tell them the water's poisoned. You can't shout from the hills because they never hear you. So you have to go to Twitter to tell people that this bloke that runs this place is a Satanist. You have to go to the place where the problem is to tell them. So I feel like, I suppose a long way of saying, we've come here to try and change the system from within. That's what my take is on it. Maybe it's just a more positive way I can view it, but I don't disregard the system of the trap, which is what he sees this place as. But the beings created this system to produce loosh in his ideal, and he's not the only one who speaks like that. It's a Gnostic view. I don't
disagree. Well, I mean, if you look at a lot of these ghost hunting type shows, and when they go to places that are truly demonic, why they go, I don't know. They're looking for it, they find it, and they freak out. But they prey off of fear, and these entities prey off of fear. So this is why I never, have this. I try to be in this place of not having fear and rising to an area of one. And I didn't say it was easy, but love. I'm like, here's the thing: we don't really die. So, like, if you put it in perspective,
But that's what
what can they do? I mean, we
had the
don't
same
really.
thought as a kid. I was like, I've already died a few times. Like, what can you do? Like, I'm more scared of the
You keep
idiots
going.
here than dying.
Right, you keep going, and to me, the way I see it, and I don't know if you've heard of anything like this, but I see this dark layer. It looks like a fog over planet Earth, and to me, I feel like you can call it the archons, the reptiles, this alien tech, this whatever falsity, and it's like it's feeding in there. And what I do, like if you want to call it meditation, sitting in a quiet place, empowerment, connecting with the higher self, whatever you want to call it, I go right above that, and I go quantum. I just go out there to this higher levels, because I think that that's part of the reason why they're trying to shut down with fluoride or aluminum our pineal glands, so we don't connect. What's your thoughts on that? Have you heard David talk about anything about the pineal gland?
Yeah, he did for a long while back. I completely agree with you though on that point. Is that they're trying to? Is it calcium? I think is around the pineal gland.
Calcify. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I believe that. I absolutely believe that they're trying to connect us off from that, and because we're a self-replicating intelligence, because the more we learn, the more intelligence we get. They can't keep up with it, so they're trying to use chemicals and trying to use other ways of changing the human body, and we see that in Human Plus. People don't realize that there's a eugenesis, and it was Julian Huxley, Aldous Huxley's younger brother, who had the task, and I learned this from Charlie Robinson, Macroaggressions, fantastic guy. You should have him on his great podcast. He did some research into it, and Julian Huxley was given the task of rebranding eugenics after World War II. Obviously, the Nazis kind of ruined that branding for them, so they called it transhumanism. That was the name he called transhumanism, and it was Thomas Huxley, his granddad. So Julian and Aldous Huxley's granddad, Thomas Huxley, was the guy that was the head of Eugenics Society at some point, and he was he was called Darwin's bulldog because he promoted Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, which is nonsense. Takes away, it's basically a godless theory that is total rubbish. It doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of who designed the capabilities or the possibilities of the body evolving in that way in the first place. It doesn't. It's insane. It completely cuts out the question of any intelligence, and it's not an intelligent theory. But he was Darwin's bulldog, Thomas Huxley. He started a club called the X Club. The X Club. For him and his Royal Society eugenics mates that met up before the Royal Society did on the night before, basically to give the information over, this is how you're going to run the Royal Society. The X Club. The X name has been used because it's a symbol of Saturn. And the X Club, who has the X Club today? Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, I would say Alex Jones is possibly in there now, Russell Brand, Joe Rogan. All of them are taken over this is my opinion, by the way, no one else's, the alternative media that I believe are the X Club today, which is your Royal Society Eugenics Club of the early 1900s that goes back through Julian Huxley, Aldous Huxley, and Thomas Huxley back to Darwin, because Darwinism is a godless, faithless ideology, and that's where eugenics comes from, which is Bill Gates' grandfather was head of board member of Planned Parenthood, which is another eugenics transhumanist society. So this cult goes on, and it's today alive with Elon Musk, who is the poster boy for transhumanism. He's trying to sell it to you, going, all this technology is getting out of hand. We need to upgrade ourselves like bloody Terminator. It's ridiculous because he's funding the bloody AI anyway. He's got the good AI. Google's got the bad AI. He was funded by Google. Google gave him billions. NASA have given Elon Musk trillions. Like it's insane. NASA was started off the back of former Nazi scientists. Again, eugenics.
Yeah, I knew that too.
Everywhere.
And I wanted to mention this book too for people if they want to do research. Jim Mars is passed, but he's got a lot of this information. Of course, he has. I've got David's books too that he's got. Of course, that I mentioned. But you're right. This eugenics. What now? Pardon me. The fourth. I love that one. The
Why is it
Fourth
the Fourth
Reich is
Reich?
one of my favorites.
This is who you're dealing with today.
Yeah, that's one of my.
Nazis never went away. These
They
guys
never went. It never
they
went
went into
away.
NASA. They created NASA. NASA Nazi. When you go to look at the Tower of Babel, and then you look at the Tower of Basel in Switzerland, where they keep their money, it's the same thing. They swap an S for a Z. It's the same thing. The Fourth Reich never went away. And in my opinion, that's what you're looking at with Musk. You're looking at with Trump, and you're looking at with a lot of these guys today. You're looking at the Fourth Reich, and you were warned. We were all warned a long time ago.
Well, but you're right. I think that people don't realize that these scientists that came, that they, that we took onto America, the eugenics program never went away. Even actually, it was Henry Kissinger that talked about the best way for depopulation was through the water. And so, what are ways? I'm just throwing ideas out. But if you wanted to depopulate, how could you do it? What's the easiest way to get people through the food, through the water, through the air, through congestion, or through calling something over here that's going to help that maybe isn't what it's supposed to be, but now there's other mechanisms where it's forced through the mosquitoes. You've seen those mosquitoes with those little design, which is so similar from that episode in the X-Files with the bees carrying everything, or the mosquitoes carrying. It's the bees. It's just right out of the X-Files. So when you look at where we are now, and why is it that they want to bring across this Armageddon? And before you answer that, Jesus did tell me that they're trying to create this. And I said, why? He goes, well, they've got a different version of how it's going to end up, and they got a different book. And I'm like, well, what do you mean a different book? So they have a different playbook. So what would be the other side's playbook, and why would they want to usher this? And how would they know when Jesus would be, say, coming back? Because apparently, this is just so odd. Why are they doing this?
Well, for one, they don't believe in the Jesus narrative in any way, shape, or form. They're just using it.
Apparently,
yeah, absolutely. So what
they're using that? Okay,
they're using it. Yeah, they're absolutely using it. They're using it to drag in what was really. I mean, this is a vast kind of understanding of it, but so at their end times will be. I'll just go from there. It will be a third Solomon's Temple on Temple Mount, which you see in West. They put that out in Westworld, and that's what they're talking about, because the computer main AI hub in Westworld is called Rehoboam, which is, if you look it up, the son of Solomon in historical terms. So they've called it the son of Solomon. I know. So they're telling you, because they have to tell you, because it's called tacit compliance, because it's a karma thing that they believe in, by the way. Again, I'm talking about what they believe in, not necessarily what I'm believing in.
I got it.
So they want a third Solomon's Temple on Temple Mount. I believe it's going to have the Alaska Mosque, the dome on the top, which is what will be the Rehoboam AI hub. Everything that's attached to Elon Musk's Starlink will come from there, and everybody who's got the nanobots inside them, eventually, because this will pass down through your genetics to your children, will be attached to this system, this beast system, which will be from Solomon's Temple. There may be something in Ukraine, which I believe they're going to try and do the New Jerusalem in Ukraine, and there's evidence of that as well. But the actual hub, Solomon's Temple, Temple Mount, that's exactly what that will be, and you'll have that be your beast system. That will be your 666 beast system. And within that
information, right? Control. Control. They can with the nanoparticles inside, they can control your heart regulation. Everything.
Everything will be controlled from it. This is there again. Let's say that we're not saying this will happen because they're lunatics, but this is what they're going to kill a lot of people in the process of. They already have. They've already killed nearly 100,000 individuals in Palestine to try and clear that route right through. So they will do this. Yes, and it is up to nearly 100,000 now. Not officially, but when you look at the actual numbers, it's round about that. So this is what these people are about, and this is why Trump's pushing things through Israel. That's why all of these guys are in the pocket of Israel. Israel was created by the Rothschilds. Zionism is just Rothschilds' political system. That's all it is. And this is all about this end times prophecy. So I believe that they will have that system there. That's what they're aiming for. Everyone will be connected through nanotechnology, and you will be part transhumanism. So you will be born into a body that has this connection ready. So you will be, if you're not in a trap already, like David says we are, you will be born into a trap that is actually your physical body, and you won't know any different. Perhaps this has happened already, but this is what they want. This is their sick, and they're telling you through things like Westworld, they're telling you that that's what they're planning on doing. So that's their end times. Unfortunately, the Christians, bless them, are going to get annihilated in the crossfire, because right before, they think they're, by bringing on the end times, they're bringing Christ back, bringing on Armageddon, because Armageddon's going to come, and then Jesus is going to come and take us, or God's going to take us all up. I can't remember how many is it, 300,000 of us going to go up in the sky, and then it's all going to be cleared, and then they're going to come down and live forever for 1,000 years. That's Kabbalah. That's the seventh. That's the Sabbath of Kabbalah. That's 7,000th year over to the 8,000, then the new world, the world to come that they believe they'll all live in. But the Christians will be sacrificed because they'll believe they're going up like it's a death cult.
Yes.
It's a death cult, and all three of them are death cults.
Sacrifice.
The three major Abrahamic religions, in my opinion, are part of the same death cult, and they're all being set up to annihilate each other at the end times. And this cult, which is the satanic cult, are using all three, and there is good evidence that they created all three, and we know they all come from the same beliefs and books anyway. So, and this isn't a reflection on the teachings of what possibly was the Jesus person who may have existed. I'm still on the fence about that, but I'm absolutely interested in it. But regardless if he did or didn't, his teachings weren't what they're teaching now, and it's completely different. So that's what they're leading to. So your question was, where is it leading to? Solomon's Temple, Temple Mount, and this AI. Go and have a look at it. Westworld. It's called Rehoboam, which is the son of Solomon. That's your beast system, and that's you're going to be born as a soul into the bodies that are already connected through nanotechnology that will pass on through your DNA to your children. Now, I've never had any of these injections, so my kids won't have it. But then you'll have these bloodlines, like 1984 and like Brave New World. Now, who wrote Brave New World?
That was a good book.
Aldous Huxley. Aldous Huxley wrote it.
Yes.
Julian Huxley's brother. They're all eugenicists. They're telling you.
So they're telling us right there in 1984.
Telling you.
Yeah, this is a playbook now. I mean, I was just telling my husband. Yeah, it's a book. It really is, if you want to know what's going on. And matter of fact, Westworld also talks about in the air, the nanoparticles, and being released that way. So, I did mention Dr. Edward Group, so people can look at that on YouTube. But that the waves, like the 5G, 6G, whatever the waves, right? That water stops at, and you can put sprinkler systems. But how do we? But in the food and what is this appeal stuff that Bill Gates putting on apples? I mean, it's they're controlling the consumption and everything. So how do we break through with this? And how do the reptilians, how are they part of all this? Because do they benefit too? Is there agreement still going on, or is this just now cabal?
I think that when it comes to if the reptilians exist at all in physical form, I think they're possessed by these archon entities and they're just being used anyway. I think there's an element that these guys know that they're not immortal. This cult. They've got an obsession with immortality. They want to live on this planet in this way forever, and that's the whole Nemi thing. Become a star from Hollywood is to do with immortality, but they want to stay here. So they're obviously terrified of death. Again, death is Saturn. It's another name for Saturn. So they're terrified of this god Saturn from the Golden Age. So there is something about them wanting to stay here. The physical beings. Now, it could be that these reptilian beings that are possibly living within Earth. We know there's huge cavern cities surrounding Turkey that 200,000 people could live in these cities. We know they exist. It might be that they're not able to genetically come out onto this planet until this planet has been terraformed and then they can live on the surface of Earth.
I
Could
got
be a possibility.
that feels right. Yeah, that makes sense. That does, and that's why I've been told they live in the caverns. I'm like, why do they live underneath in the caverns? They can't adapt fully, so maybe that's why they come out in sections. So, what about you? And then we'll close off. What do you think about this UFO disclosure, not from the government, but from people? Do you think we'll have help from the galaxy or whatever? Do you think that they're watching this and like, look, this is what's going on. We want to give these people, humanity, a chance. Do you think that's going to happen, or is it just all doomsday?
I think we should be very cautious of a fake alien invasion type scenario. I think we should be cautious of anyone who tries to sell a race of beings that are our fathers or our masters or our rulers or our creators. You're swapping one set of rulers for another. So anyone who sells you a race of beings that have come here to save you or have come here to look after you, control you, like even if it's pretended to be, anyone who wants to kind of dictate the way you live, I think we should be very, very wary of that. We don't need that. We don't need another version of that. So maybe there are other races there that want to come here and take this place, but they're not having it because it's ours. They can do one. It's the fact that just be careful that anyone's trying to sell you another race of savior beings. It's the same scenario. You don't need it. All you need to do, for the next, in my opinion, is in large enough numbers refuse to comply with any of this. None of this can happen without our acquiescence. There's too many of us. So we don't need saving. All we need to do is stop doing what they tell us to do in large enough numbers, and the game ends overnight. We don't need. They're terrified of us because they wouldn't have to control us if they weren't. So you got to understand there's something very special about the human being. Now, I do believe there's a difference between the human being and the soul, and and the evolution of the consciousness. I believe it's all one and the same anyway. But the human being there's something very special about us that they don't want us to know. That's why they're so terrified of us. And I do believe that some of these bloodlines aren't. They're not biologically human like we are, and they want to take this place, and they can't.
No, I got it. Well, and another thing to add to what you're saying, if in fact this is a holographic universe, which I did see that in my last near-death experience, I saw everything break into lines, and I went, "Oh my gosh!" Like the little chair, everything turned into lines. And then I went, where did everything go? And the next thing you know, I was out in the galaxy. And so if that's the case, that if we all said, no, I've had it, would everything, the substrates just start disappearing?
I think it'd be fascinating to try, wouldn't it? It'd be absolutely fascinating to have a go at it. At least, yeah. I think there's something to that. There's a thing called an egregore, where enough people believe something, it creates a energetic being. And that's something worth looking into as well. I think the themes of that are very true. We create this environment collectively, and that's why they feed this shit and keep us in the dark like mushrooms. And we create the environment. So I do believe we are the powerful ones, but they're using our power against us. But I do believe it's a collective thing, and not all of us, obviously, but it needs enough of us to start changing it. So it'd be fascinating. I can't say I have all the answers, but I find this place absolutely fascinating, and I'm not one of those ones who think that this is an awful place to be and my children are here. It's an incredible place it's people who have been manipulated, abused, hurt, brainwashed. Now, where that mentality comes from is the question. Who wants to do that? Because that is where evil is, and that's a mind, that's a consciousness, that's an energetic thing from somewhere. That's the bad. That's what we need to rid ourselves of. Now, is that the game? Is that why we're here? Is that the purpose? I have no idea, but I don't see this place as a bad place. I see this place as I don't want to say experience, but I see this place as almost like a place where you can just go. It's fascinating.
Back to when you were talking about what is the hope, and that is, and what is the opposite of evil is truth, and knowing your truth and standing in your power and doing your research. There's other documentaries on there, and I can't wait to this one that's coming out. Tell us when that new release is coming out. I know you said it's, it's gonna be tough to watch. But you
Yeah.
need to know. I mean, I've always been one, like, I just want to know the truth, and why I don't like it. I prefer a walk in the park, but I need to know. If someone's trying to pull the wool over my eyes, I want to know. And
Yeah.
so I think most people are also that way. When is this going to be released, this documentary, and what is the name again?
So the film's called The Rituals of the Elite, and it's myself and David. It was directed by Jamie Icke,
That's
and
great.
our friend Aidan shot it, who used to work with us, but now it's a freelance. But he's done a great job, and we've shot it, and it's really unique film. But it's really about the ritual, the overall ritual, why they do these rituals, why they sacrifice children, why they sacrifice young people, why all these children go missing, the
Babies.
energy that's behind it, the belief system that's behind it, and who they sacrifice these children to. And this is true. This is unfortunately happening. It was 124,000 children, I believe, go missing in the UK each year. 124,000 is
Right. There is
utterly. I mean, that's the official
a
statistics, I
lot.
believe, and it's like 240,000 in the US. So, sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. It's out on the 10th, I believe, of August, and it's me
We'll check
interviewing
it out.
David about these subjects, interspersing some of the stuff that I know. But it's a subject matter that goes from the top to the bottom of why they do these rituals and
This
how
is
far
good to
back it
know.
goes. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
the source.
disturbing film, but it
Oh,
reveals
wow.
it all from top to bottom.
Oh, this sounds so exciting. Yeah, and you're right. I think I told you that Hawaii, they had what is it, 42 or 45,000 children missing during that whole episode where they had fires and all of this.
Hmm.
And so where did they go? And then there's supposed to be underground bunkers there, that people have built, what have you. But you revealing this, that it will make people start looking at other sources. And now I think that, like I said, even on social media, you have people that are whistleblowers now for humanity all over the world. They're just coming out and saying, let me tell you what I found. So, we need, I think you're brave. I think you're courageous, but how can you go back? How can you go back now that you know, right?
David once said that. He said to me, and he said he couldn't understand after doing it for so long. He said to me, he couldn't understand how people who start to do this research and start to do this work stop, because you're never the same. And I completely agree with that. And I'm sure sometimes he thinks, I wish I'd never even heard of any of this stuff. Or he probably still wish he does Match of the Day sometimes. But he said, once you know it, you can't unknow it. And
Yes.
it baffles him how people come and go, and he's seen them all come and go. And I'm not just saying that because I work with David, but there are quite a few. Ryan Christian, there's Charlie Robinson, there are some decent, like Whitney Webb. There's many decent people out there who see this, call it down the line. It's unfortunate that many who start this get pulled off in a direction of a religion or a political
Politics.
religion, basically. And that's when they kind of lose perspective of really what this is about. The whole point in the alternative media, and Jamie said this on a show recently with David, and it hit home with me, was that the alternative media, what we do isn't to support a political party, and it isn't to promote a religion. It's to question authority in every way, shape or form, every day, and at every twist and turn. Question them, hold them
Yes.
accountable.
Yes.
And that's what we should be doing. And that's what this whole
Yes.
movement is
Question
supposed to be
everything.
about. Hold them accountable, not try and promote them. And that's unfortunately what's happened recently. So, but the Overton window has shifted, and it's never going back to what it was before. The Overton window is basically the understanding what people will accept. And that's, people talk about this constantly now. So COVID did it. They did their big thing with the whole COVID thing, and they're never going to get that chance again. And I'm quite positive many times, not always, about the future, but at least we know we're doing our bit before we do head off to the next chapter.
Oh, absolutely. And I do. I think that it was it went in their opposite direction because it gave people a lot of time to think and ask a lot of questions. And it was so obvious that it wasn't very hidden that people are like, okay. And so this is, we need to be spiritual warriors. We need to wake up. And that means, every day, any question, everything, our own belief system, our own everything, our own whatever, and just and not be afraid of tomorrow, because life's in us now. So I love what you're doing. Somebody's got to do it. And now, so once and it's amazing that some of this is so old and ancient, and they're just stirring in this old ancient yucky stuff. But the fact that you are able to find tie-ins of all this old ancient stuff that's still going on, it's and then it's so insidious in the symbology. So hopefully you'll go over some of the symbology, so we'll know what to look for in these satanic things that are out there, that are in front of us every day. And I really appreciate everything that you're doing, because people need someone to be, I hate to use the word crusader, but a pioneer in letting people know what the truth is and what they've been lied to about. I mean, so I appreciate it. Somebody's got to do it, and thanks for doing that.
Well, I don't know, that or a greengrocer like my dad. So I don't really fancy being a greengrocer, to be honest. So, something to do with it. Something to do. This is fun. I'm very lucky.
Well, look, everybody, make sure that you check out the show Classified. And also you have a YouTube channel, which is Classified Richard Willett. We have it down below. Thank you so much for your time. You're doing an outstanding job. And also see my interview on the Essenes, where we do talk, and you put some clarity in there. And I look forward to following your career and seeing all the things that you expose. And hopefully you can help bring down this house of cards. So thanks, Richard.
Well, thank you for having me on. And whenever you want me to come back on, I'm more than happy to come and chat.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Please subscribe, like, and make comments, and support this channel by becoming a member. Thank you for your continued support.